What's your story? What's your sign? It's like we're twin flames in a different life. Deep connection lights a spark. It's like you know me in the depths of my heart. We're dreamers. Don't care what other people say. We live it like this could be our final day. We're dreamers. Don't care what the others say. We're doing this in our way. We come alive in the nighttime. Something about how we dance in the moonlight. That look in your eyes, it tells me that you want me and all my loving. We come alive in the nighttime. You and I, we come alive. We come alive. We come alive. What's your weakness? What's your type? Somehow I wanna know all about you. Deep connection lights a spark. You already know me when we dance in the dark. We're dreamers. We live it. We're dreamers. We're doing this in our way. We come alive in the nighttime. It's something about how we dance in the moonlight. That look in your eyes, it tells me that you want me and all my loving. We come alive in the nighttime. You and I, we come alive. Oh, we come alive. We come alive. Oh, we come alive. Tell me that you want me. I can see you want me.
All right. Good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 3, session 3 of our, excuse me, as soon as I start talking, of our workshop, our Get Legit Go Pro workshop. Today, we're going to be talking about what legit professional success really looks like. And I just want to say hello. I'm going to just quickly check in chat and see if anybody's had anything to say other than a little hello. I'm going to type hello as well. And just to say hello to everybody, I want to wish you a good morning if it's morning where you are, and a good afternoon if that's where you are. All of those kinds of things. So let me just get this in here, and we will get started right away. It's about 3 minutes past the hour. Got the tech stuff working, although I had a panicked moment just a couple minutes before we started when my screen in front of me completely went dark. So the laptop's over here, and the main screen is right in front of me, and that's where my slides and my notes and my camera angles and all that is. And it went black on me at the last second. So anyway, that's what's going on. It seems to be working okay now, other than my voice. Take a drink of water here. And let's jump right in and get started by going over to the slides here. There we go. Look at my nifty little picture in picture. Hi, everybody. And I'll keep that up for a little bit, but we're going to be talking today, as I said, about what legit professional success really looks like. Now, of course, I've been saying, and to recap, that if you're going to be a professional, you need to think legit. You need to plan legit. And, of course, you need to behave. You need to act legit. Acting like the professional you intend to be. Be, do, have, as some of the guys say. Be it first, do the things that a professional does, and you will have the evidence of success in your professional approach. So when we talk about behaving legit, of course, we mean having those structures and those strategies in place. Those are the things we talked about the other day. By the way, if you haven't already watched all of the previous sessions 1 and 2, head on over to the directory page, and that's at gpf.link/live. I'm gonna change the link and make it gpf.link/live, but you'll be able to see those on the replay, live replay. We'll figure it out. Anyway, go ahead and head on over there and be sure you catch up on those because it's the foundational stuff that leads to today and onward. So, legit behavior, acting like the legit pro that you are, means having those structures and strategies in place. And when you ask what kind of structures and strategies, well, we're talking about the hallmarks of professionalism, your legit business structure, your legit team structure, your legit intellectual property strategy, both of protecting your intellectual property and respecting that of others, and of course, your legit customer and client strategy. And that's really what we're talking about. Your client and customer strategy is where the rubber really meets the road. This is where the money is, but it also impacts on your reputation, your standing, and the respect you command from the community, from the outside world. So we'll focus a little bit on the key takeaway that I want you to have. Whether you're in it as a hobby or as a side hustle or it's your main gig, getting your business and legal affairs in order is the best way to feel confident and secure so you can grow and monetize and supercharge your podcasting operation and go forward for big success. Because until you do that, you will be at risk. The risks are being taken advantage of, losing control of your podcast and your business, losing money, getting sued, missing out on opportunities, spending too much, staying right where you are now and hoping for that magic pill, and continuing to play small out of fear. How many of us know someone who is always playing the game not to lose rather than playing to win? That's what happens if you're not confident that you can win. This is the think like a pro, legit pro part. And that's what happens if you're not confident that you're equipped and positioned and ready to win. If you're afraid of getting noticed, afraid of getting big enough to have that real impact, because that's when people start taking shots at you, well, you're going to play not to lose, the small game. Sure, you're there on the playing field, you're doing your thing, but you're playing at a less than professional level. When you've got those legal and business affairs matters handled, though, when everything is in order, you can sleep easy at night. But most importantly, you can play big. You can play to win. So we're thinking legit. We're getting into the mindset of the legit pro. We're planning legit. We're behaving and acting legit the way pros do. That means having our structures and strategies in place and figuring out, I didn't mean to go forward quite so fast, and figured out and in place. Groovy. Okay, so what we're going to be getting into today, what legit professional success really looks like. But first, I just want to clarify something from the other day. I want to make sure that we are all clear on the monetization stuff, on the distinctions between your audience and your market and your customers. Your audience is all the people who listen to your show. They do it for any number of reasons, but usually it comes down to an affinity, either for the people or the subject matters. And audiences tend to be pretty loyal. Once you've got somebody in the fold, they keep listening as long as they like what they're hearing. Maybe they even evangelize for your show and attract other people, bring other people to the party. They are intensely interested in your subject matter or in the kind of entertainment that you provide. After all, they actively seek out your show. They subscribe, they listen, they show up week after week or episode after episode. And that means you have a degree of influence over them. The market, though, are all the people out there, including your audience, but everybody else also. All the other folks who have an interest in the subject matter or in being entertained in the way that you entertain. All the people out there who share something in common with your audience. And they are the ones that you are wanting to influence, to attract, so that they become your audience. They go from cold prospects to warm prospects. They've heard of you now. To leads where they've decided to give your show a try, to a full-fledged audience member. That's like a customer. You see, I'm using marketing and sales speak here, and I'm doing that deliberately. But we really have to distinguish and be clear that unless your podcast is a direct sales tool and a marketing tool for your business or services, or for products that you're an affiliate for, or something like that, so you get a sales commission or something. Well, unless that's the case, your audience are not your customers. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. When it comes to monetizing a podcast, advertising is the most prevalent method, arguably. And when you're carrying ads, the advertiser, that sponsor, that is your customer. So it's important not to lose sight of these distinctions. Your customers, they and you share the same target market for the most part, but in very different ways. You want to attract the market to become audience so you can sell access to them. You want to sell the audience's attention to the advertiser. So to the advertiser, your content is the bait that brings the market to the marketplace. The audience come for the information and the entertainment, whatever it is you provide, and they get hooked by the advertising messages. That's the advertiser-supported business model in a nutshell. And it works. Podcast advertising has become a huge, tremendous business, and it's growing really, really fast. But the real key, the trick, is that we don't want them to feel like they've been hooked or caught. We want happy fish. We want them to feel like, no, strike that. We want them to know that they have found prime feeding grounds, a treasure trove of great information, great entertainment, and great opportunities to find products and services that will solve their problems. So we need to be good stewards of our audiences and of our customers. And that means being attentive to the needs, the wants, the desires, and the affinities of the markets that we serve. Listen to your market and give them what they want and maybe a little bit of what they need, even if they don't know it yet, and you will be golden. All right. So that's just the clarification about markets, audiences, and customers. And I want to thank you for indulging me, but now let's talk about what legit professional success looks like. Ask yourself this question: what is success? When I ask this question, and then I listen to my market, I did this as an experiment a few times. Here are some of the responses that I hear time and time again. People say, whoops, sorry, wrong way, wrong slide. Just getting the podcast launched is success. Publishing episodes consistently, success. Getting my message out, making enough to break even. Okay, that makes sense. Not getting sued. That's a fun one. Another way I've heard this put is nothing bad happens. What about replacing your job or income? Retiring my spouse, making an impact, satisfaction of a job well done. It's a craft, it's art. You're focused on quality. That's wonderful. Leaving a legacy, leaving something of myself behind for future generations. Sort of like if you were to write books or make films or record music. In this sense, it's an art form, isn't it? Being respected, getting high-profile guests. Isn't that about respect and prestige and influence, respect? Some might say it's about ego. Okay, but that's a kind of success, right? Just having fun, that's success. Having a big audience. How big? Okay. Market penetration. Okay, how much? When is it enough? Who knows? Is there such a thing as enough? I'll tell you that market penetration is relative because, my show, Entertainment Law Update, is a very tightly focused on a niche kind of a podcast. If you're not interested in entertainment law, you're not interested in my podcast. If you're not interested in what I do for a living, and similarly, if you're not interested in the cases and the controversies that arise in the field of entertainment law, my podcast isn't for you. So that narrows my potential market to lawyers who either are in the field of entertainment law or are interested and have an affinity for the field of entertainment law, and law students, and a handful of other professionals who pay attention to what's going on in the entertainment law world. There's a few thousand of those people in the whole wide world, really. And our show has a couple thousand listeners every month. To my way of thinking, we've really penetrated the market. So I say that's success. And with those numbers, we're in the top, 15 to 20% of all the podcasts out there. If you want to look at those kind of metrics, I don't know how you measure top, that measurement is about audience size or downloads numbers, I guess. So that's pretty good. That's market penetration. Here's another answer I get. When my exit strategy is secure. This is an interesting one. Exit strategy. Probably not something most hobbyists are thinking too much about. Have you thought about this, though? About how your podcast will end? If it will end? About how you will stop podcasting? When is that? What's the trigger for you stopping podcasting? Are you planning to get bought or bought out? Do you plan to pass the show on to some sort of successors? Maybe your family, your heirs, or your partners if you're co-producing with people? Give this a little thought. Here's one. When I've achieved my goals. Some say this is success, achieving your goals. Well, which goals? Right? We all have goals. We have goals for the hour, the day, the week, the month, the 90-day term, the long term. Let me ask you this. What does success look like when you're looking back from your deathbed? How are you going to decide, was I a success? What do you want your obituary to say about you? Maybe that's how you measure success. Have you done the things that you would be proud to have your obituary report? If someone didn't know you and someone else had to tell them about who you were and what you did with your life, what would you want them to say? Okay. Some people say revenue. Well, how much revenue equals success? And let's not forget that you can have a giant amount of revenue, but if your expenses are just as giant, maybe that revenue number isn't the real metric you want to use. Now, I see a lot of folks in the internet space and internet marketing talk about their gross revenue, and they never get into net profit. How much of that is profit? So maybe we should use profit as the metric. Well, how much profit? I find it interesting that there are really so many different ways to characterize success. So when we talk about what it looks like, legit professional success, ultimately, I think that is something that you are going to have to figure out for yourself. So I want to do a little exercise now. Little exercise. Just take a couple of minutes and write down a narrative story of what your success looks like. I'm going to give you a little bit of music. Again, writing in the present tense. Project out to the future again and dream it. Pick a date that's far off enough, but not too far, and write it down. For me, January 9th, 2023, so a couple of years from now, that'll be my 57th birthday, and I've achieved success. How do I know? That's what I'm answering on paper. I'm going to write down how I know I'm a success. I've achieved legit professional success. Here's how. How do I know? And then explain it. Ask yourself, how do I know I'm a success? Visualize yourself in that way of being. Visceralize it. Is that a word? Visceralize it. Experience what it is to feel like that success when you know. What does it feel like when you are a legit success? Take a couple minutes and think about that and write it. we're just getting a brief outline, maybe some bullet points down of what it is to be success, what it feels like, what it looks like in your version of success. So I just want to come back to you for a second, and I can't really tell how many people are live or whatever, but if you've done this now, what are your vision? What do you want to share about success, what it looks like to you? So here it is, January 9th, 2023, and I'm a success, whatever day you've chosen, a couple of years out, maybe it's just a year, 5 years out, whatever. Pick an aspect of things and say, what is it that makes you feel and know that you're success? Now, this was just a quick version of this exercise, but I want to encourage you to repeat it and take a good chunk of time to reflect, to meditate, and sit in quiet with your thoughts about this. How do you know? What does it feel like? Journal it and make sure you cover your professional, your business success, but also all the other aspects of your life, because there's no such thing, in my view, as success in one area when the wheels are falling off of things in other areas, right? So really take the time to consider your overall success. Not just your podcast, not just your business, but the relationships, your health, your spirituality, your energy levels, your finances, and everything else that has a place in your life. Being a legit professional, I say, means being in harmony, in balance. Harmony. Anybody use that word in the journaling exercise? Okay, I see a couple people saying balance. I see time for family as something that's listed. That's good. We're going to talk about that. I see people talking about money, right? But also about impact. What does impact mean to you? I'm curious. Let me take a second to look at the other chats here real quickly. Rita said that the background music was too loud, I think. Are you hearing me now, Rita? It looks like, yeah. I had actually muted my mic while I played the music for a minute for you guys to work on things. So maybe that's what it was. All right, I'm going to move on now. We'll come back to the slides here in just a second. If I can remember how. Here we go, back to the slides. Okay, so balance, harmony, time with family, money, impact. Okay, great. All right, so let's talk. As I was preparing the talk, I started to think about what my ideal lifestyle would look and feel like, and I asked a few other people, and here's a bit of what I've come up with beyond just what is success, but actually getting into a little more clarity and definitional stuff. All right. For me, I know I'm in a successful place because I'm experiencing peace and tranquility. Yes, stresses come up, but they're temporary, they're short-lived. Success is knowing in your bones that everything is working the way it's supposed to work. Knowing and having faith, I guess you could say, that things are going to be okay. Life is going the way it's supposed to go. Remember that not getting sued response I talked about earlier? Success is when nothing bad happens. Now, that's a funny one because when it comes to dialing in your pro status and having all those strategies, my voice is still hard to listen in. Interesting. All right, let me see if I can get this fixed real quickly here. And I'm going to sort of keep talking and see what I mean. So nothing bad happens. And that's a funny one because when it comes to dialing in your pro status, to having all those strategies and structures in place, there might not be any outward signs of that it's working. Because when it's working, nothing bad happens. This is actually one of the tricky things about offering the kinds of things that I as a lawyer offer, prevention. That's what we're doing here. We're promoting the absence of something, the absence of bad consequences arising. And that's kind of hard to visualize and visceralize. I'm making it a word, even if it isn't in the dictionary. Visceralize means to experience what it feels like in your gut. Okay, so it's hard when you're talking about the absence of bad consequences to visualize or feel that. tranquility, peacefulness is what I'm talking about. Okay. I know I'm in a successful place on the financial front when I have an income that is enough to support my preferred lifestyle. I've got retirement savings on track to reach the number I have in mind at the time I have in mind. I've got an emergency fund, so I know if something happens, we're good. And I've got the kids' college funds dialed in. And being a legit professional means that I've got some of those nice to have items covered too. Vacations, experiences, maybe a touch of luxury, and maybe even the big dream stuff, the FU money, the multiple homes, the boats, the planes, and so on. If that's success to you, great. Make it your goal. And I'll tell you, even if you're not podcasting to make money, taking a professional approach to what you're doing will help you with everything. Because when you start being professional, that kind of being becomes second nature across all aspects of life. It's hard not to be professional about things in one area when you are professional about them in others. You take a professional approach, right? Okay. Family time. It goes without saying. When you are a legit professional, you have margin in your life. So you can have time with your loved ones. And here's the important thing. It's not just time being physically present, but also mentally, emotionally, and spiritually present, fully present. Because as a legit professional, you have things set up and structured and organized, so you don't have to worry when you're not up to your elbows and everything. You've got that margin, the freedom to step back and trust that things will move along just fine until you return. That is my idea of success. The true legit professional experience of success, they experience it because they've got a smoothly operating machine. All the structures, strategies, and systems in place to keep things, they empower the professional to focus his or her energy on the big things, the things that really move the needle and make a difference, the things that only that legit pro should be doing. And other things are left to people, forgive the way I say it, but of a lower pay grade. Okay. The key is to building systems, the beginnings of the machine that we're talking about. The legit pro experience is different from the way the workers experience things because there are systems in place. You've probably already got systems for some of what you do. Content creation, right? Pre-production, recording, post-production, publishing. You've got a checklist. Maybe it's only a mental checklist. And let me encourage you to get it down onto paper or into a document or something where if somebody else needed to do some of those things, they could do it and execute on the plan, even if you're not available to do it, right? Efficiency means not reinventing your process each time. It means having a checklist. It means that if you can get that dialed in right, you can have an assistant execute the steps, and that frees you up and creates that margin. Think about the things that you do in your work, in your business, in your life, in your podcasting, whatever, that are rote, pure repetition. Do it the same way every single time. If you can automate those things, fantastic. Automate. That's great. But if you can't automate, if you need somebody to pull the lever and push the button, then find the person who can do that. Create the system. Train them to do it. A trained monkey can do some of the things that I do in my business. And the goal is to get those things out to a person or a machine that can do those things for you so you can focus on the big picture, the higher level stuff, right? It frees you up. It creates that margin. What kind of systems do professionals use in business? Well, here are a few examples. Operation systems, team and staffing systems, sales and marketing, service. What are the systems we implement to communicate and serve our audience? And some of that is the operations, the production stuff, but some of it might just be, what if an audience member has a question? How do we field it? What do we do with it? How do we respond? How do we make sure it gets into the pipeline to be answered in the show, right? And likewise with our customers. How do we service the customer? What's the intake process look like? What's the creative process for advertising look like? What's the traffic strategy? So you make sure that their ads get put in the right shows at the right times. What's the process for billing them? Making sure they're happy. Making sure they come back for another round, another campaign, right? The reality is all these systems need to be in place, financial systems too, right? And the reality is that Legit Professional isn't the one who makes these systems work. The Legit Professional often isn't even the one who creates the systems, but conceives the need for the systems, visualizes, has the vision for the business that runs on these systems. One takeaway here I hope that you'll take today is you can't be a legit professional if you're spending most of your time in the business, in worker bee mode. You can't do the work that's needed of the queen bee if you're always buzzing around in the role of the drone, right? Focus on being the queen bee, or the king if you prefer that metaphor, right? It starts with that org chart we worked on a bit the other day. You can't do it all, so start building the team. This is CEO level thinking. Be that CEO, that legit pro. Even if you don't think of this as a business in the sense of it's not there to make you money, delegating things to the people who do things better, faster, more smoothly, with less friction, or just cheaper, so you can focus on bigger things, is important. That's what CEOs do. The CEO isn't there answering the phones at the front desk. They're not there sweeping the floor, cleaning the bathrooms. They're not there generating the marketing document or the press release or communicating with the landlord of the business, the landlord of the building. So that's it. Start with some kind of a manager, an operations manager kind of a person. Some business people call this person an integrator. There's a couple of great books on this subject. One is called Rocket Fuel, and it talks about the relationship between the visionary, that's you, so you can focus on being the visionary, and the integrator who handles the implementation and execution. So that's your call them an operations manager, call them a partner. Maybe that's the way to do it. With the right foundations and strategies and structures, with the right people and the systems, and with the right vision, it is possible. If you've got the vision, if you think like a pro, if you plan like a pro, and if you act and behave like a pro with all the strategies and structures I've described in place, you can have that tranquility, that balance, that harmony, and that feeling that you connected with a little while ago of what success looks like. Now, I've been working with creatives and creative entrepreneurs for almost 30 years. And really, that's what most podcasters really are, right? Creative entrepreneurs. They've made something themselves that they're putting out to the world. And in that time, I've seen the biggest hang-up that they encounter is knowing where to begin. It's overwhelming. The old saying, though, is, how do you eat an elephant? Well, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. It's really true. And it's actually very simple. So start at the beginning. I've given you this stuff, right? Start with the vision work, the thinking. Take yourself back up to the top of that mountain. Actually, what mountain are you even climbing? Take a good look at that. And get into figuring out what are your values and your purpose and the mission that you serve. That takes us back, doesn't it, to what does success look like and feel like for you? And really get into experiencing the achievement to being the legit pro who's already climbed that mountain. And from there, think back and ask yourself those questions. What did I have to do to get here? What did I have to give up or say no to in order to get here? What are the hallmarks of the person who got here? And what did it feel like on the way? And start experiencing that. So start with the vision work and then do some planning. Business planning, content planning and strategy, audience growth planning. What is the offer that you make and to whom? What's the value proposition in what you do for your audience and for your customer? Get some clarity on that. Take the time to do your planning, not just in your head. Get it down on paper. The exercise is what's important, not what's on the paper ultimately, but you have to spend the time and write it down. Fill out the form, the template that we provided you. Take the time and do it. And then get into being the legit professional by behaving the way that professionals do. Get those structures and strategies in place. The business structure, the personnel, the team. Get the intellectual property strategy dialed in. And then the monetization. And as you do it, the systems to make everything work smoothly. That's the experience. That's what leads to, I should say, the experience of being the legit podcast pro. So I want to come back to my camera for a moment. Here we go. And I just want to ask you, what do you think about all this? What do you think? Just checking the chat here real quickly. Looks like we're sort of quiet today, but okay. Well, all right, let me get back into this here a little bit. Now, I've been helping creators like you get their legal affairs in order for my whole career, almost 30 years now. And since I started podcasting myself, I've been helping networks and companies and podcasters to get their legal and business affairs in order. The foundation building that I've been talking about these past few sessions, that's the stuff I help clients with. But I recognize that there's a segment, a group of podcasters that need this stuff. I'm talking about the do-it-yourself crowd, folks who can't or just won't hire a lawyer to get their legal affairs in order, but they still want to get them in order. So they don't know how, though, and they don't trust that they can do it on their own. So if you don't mind, let me just switch gears a little bit here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I've been up to. And we're almost done for today. So let me, if you don't mind, I'm going to take a couple of minutes and just share this with you. So I started thinking, what if getting your podcasting operation set up right so it's legit was fast and easy and comfortable? What if getting the legal work done for your podcast operation was something you could do easily for yourself and still feel confident that it's been done correctly? What if there was a set of frameworks and instructions and templates and tools that would make getting your podcast legal and business affairs in order, getting it done downright simple? And for a while, I was running a program where I helped folks do all this stuff called Podcasters Legal and Business Bootcamp. It was a paid all-day legal workshop. You had to do it on my schedule, at my pace. And it was called Podcasters Legal and Business Bootcamp. Oops, wrong button. Sorry. There's that dang music again. Okay, Podcasters Legal and Business Bootcamp. And the students loved it. It worked for them. But as I got a bunch of sessions under my belt, I realized that the synchronous live class format isn't ideal. Some folks would just get behind or just couldn't do everything right then, and they'd be stuck, out of luck. So now I've created this new approach. It's called Easy Legal for Podcasters. It's a unique online do-it-yourself legal training program designed specifically for podcasters, and it's bundled together with all the templates, guides, and resources that you need to get legit, go pro, and experience real professional success, whatever that means to you. Oops, that's the wrong slide. Right now, it's 4 modules that coincide with the framework that I've been telling you about. Legit business structure, legit team structure, legit intellectual property strategy, and legit client and customer strategy. Each module includes detailed explanations of how everything works, decision-making guides to help you decide what kind of entity, how to structure your team, what to do to protect your property, and so on. And then we have how-to walkthroughs, video training where I show you exactly what to do, how to form your entity, register your trademarks and copyrights, how to prepare the contracts you need for your team, your clients, your vendors, and more. And it's all bundled with my attorney-drafted template agreements, bylaws, and minutes, plus checklists and all the other tools you use to get your business and legal affairs in order quickly and easily so you can stop playing not to lose. so you can have the experience of being a legit podcast pro. You will be able to hang up your amateur status and start playing the big game the way that the pros do. And we're opening up the doors in just a few days. So look for a message from me coming up early next week. And I will share how you can get in on Easy Legal for Podcasters. But that's it for now. I'm done with my slides for today. I've got a little time for questions, so I'll pop into, I've got to look at YouTube and Facebook. Rita, if you're still there, is my voice better? Does it sound okay now? I know we were having a little crackling noise on things too. I hope it's all good. Anybody else? Anybody have any comments or questions about any of this stuff? I'd be delighted to field your questions. Somebody's mentioning that this idea of professionalism, is it really just for business? I've said it before and I'll say it again. Being professional is not the same as being a professional. Approaching things like a professional is just good practice. Whether you're in it to make money or just to have an impact, and I invite you to consider what impact you want to have. What is that all about? Impact is about touching lives. People sometimes get hung up on, well, I've only got 100 downloads per episode, or maybe it's only 50 downloads per episode. Let's remember that that's 50 people who care enough about what you're doing to download and listen to your podcast. Now, maybe it's entertainment. I say entertaining someone is an impact. Touching that person's life and giving them a reason to smile or think or react, feel sad, feel joy, whatever it is, that's an impact. That's valuable. It's tremendously valuable. People spend a lot of money seeking out entertainment. They spend a lot of money seeking out things that tug on their heartstrings. People go to romantic movies, sad movies. They go to comedies too, of course, right? There's a market for all of these things. And you know what? Touching 50 people with your particular brand of entertainment counts for a lot, or of a particular message that you want to share. Think about this. If you were standing in front of a room full of 50 people, would you feel like, oh, that's piddling? Or would you feel like, hey, I got 50 people? And if they show up every week to hear you talk, maybe, look, if you teach classes, they show up and they pay sometimes to come and take your class, right? That's impact. Don't dismiss that just because you've only got a handful. True success. Okay, Rita, the volume could be better. Sorry about that. I don't have any more. It's maxed out on my end. Okay, true success is, at least in part, that impact, touching people's lives. If you think about this, if your message hit somebody on a day when they were contemplating suicide, and as a result, they changed their mind. They decided to live another day. One person. Success? I say yeah. Mark is asking about the cost of Easy Legal for Podcasting. We haven't opened the doors yet. It's not even available today. And we're going to talk about that. I'm going to come to you with that message Monday. I want everybody to catch up on this stuff. I want everybody on my list to have a chance to hear the training here without the heavy pitch. All right, I know I pitched a little bit, but I'm not here to sell on this today. If you're interested, stay tuned. You'll find out. It's a bargain. Okay. Anyway, back to impact. Impact is touching a person's life, one person at a time. And if you have that in your head, when you're recording a podcast episode, if you're talking to one person, that's how you reach people. That's how you connect with your audience. You don't think of them as 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people out there. You think of them as one person, earbuds in their ears or playing in the car, listening to what you have to say. So Creating good content is about speaking to the one person in an intimate, honest, legit, professional way. That's professionalism. I don't care whether you want to make money. That one person isn't going to be able to pay you enough to support you for your life. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the possibilities. I'm talking about that impact, right? Touching people's lives. Okay. Another question that I've had come up a couple times. Let me just check out some of the other comment areas. Is, do I really need all these systems? I'm small potatoes. Nobody's going to sue me. And I'm going to say, hey, remember what I said about playing the big game? If you are small potatoes and you want to stay that way, okay, sure. Be my guest. You want to have a bigger impact? You want to have more influence? Want to get a bigger audience? All that I was saying about focus on one person, touching one life is great. But if you reach more people, you touch more lives. You want to do those things. You got to think bigger. You got to play big. You got to take some risks. Risk is what drives business success. Yeah, it leads to failure sometimes, and business is all about experimenting. Professionals are willing to take some risks. They're willing to experiment. They'll try something. If it doesn't work, they move on to the next thing. They try another thing, move on to the next thing, until the one that lands and makes the big impact, has the big influence, generates the revenue, whatever it is. So I don't think anybody's too small to come at things from a professional approach. Some people say there's no risk. Sure there is. I talked about it. The risk is just staying small, really, right? But if you do go bigger and you don't have these structures in place, if you start to reach a bigger audience, you're going to have a target painted on your back. Because as you start to get bigger in media, people think you've got a lot of resources. And, look, people who don't know what's involved in making a podcast don't quite connect the dots that this is somebody in their home office or their bedroom or basement or coat closet with a microphone talking at them. They experience it, especially when we focus on our production quality, they experience it as, what's the word I'm looking for? As big, like big media. As far as you're concerned, you're a radio host. As they're concerned, I should say, you're a radio host or a TV host. As far as they're concerned, you've got resources. So they look at you and they don't like something you did. They're gonna point fingers. They're gonna take shots because you've gotten noticed. If you're gonna get noticed, you ought to be prepared and you ought to be equipped to shield yourself from those pot shots that they're taking. Any other questions? Well, it's nice and quiet today. Maybe I shouldn't have started at 9 o'clock. I have a class I have to teach later on this afternoon. I teach a college course on intellectual property and another one on media law and ethics. And those are today, this afternoon. And I just needed to make sure I wasn't butting up against things. If I started at 11, we would have been finishing and I would have had to rush out, and I didn't want to do that. So anyway, for those of you who are here watching, thank you very much. For those of you who are watching on the replay, go ahead and drop your notes in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And stay tuned. I've got that. I've got to reach out to you next week as I put the finishing touches on the offer, on what I view as the value proposition for Easy Legal for Podcasting. But I hope that this series of lessons, this series has been helpful and thought-provoking. And I do really want to encourage you to do these exercises. Go to the mountaintop. Put yourself in the position of the guru at the top of the mountaintop who knows all, who's experienced things, who's tapped into, what's the word? Energy, universal energy of some sort. And listen to what that person experiences and feels and how they got there and what they need to do, what you need to do to be the person who is there. What is the experience? What does being that person mean? What'd you have to give up? What'd you have to do? Do the planning. Sit down with a business plan template. The one we've put in the handout is great, but if that's not the one you want, try a different one. Go find something. Even if you're not building a business, it makes sense to build a plan. How are you going to attract and grow an audience? What is the goal? What do you want to achieve with that audience? What kind of metrics are you going to pay attention to? Audience size is great. Revenue is great. But if you're going to do those things, you also have to know what are the performance indicators that will tell you along the way that you're on track or not. Episode consistency is one. Episode length is another. Shares. How many shares do you get on social media? What are the things that you can do to make things grow? What are the things that you can outsource to make things grow? What are the things that you can do to get viral attention? What can you do figure it out. Develop your plan. And you will be able to experience what it is to be a true podcast professional, legit podcast professional. I think that's going to be it for me for today. And unless there's other questions, I'm going to check one more time for other questions. Let's see. Nothing there. Nothing on Facebook. I'm not even going to, well, Tarzanbai Kyrgyzbai. I'm sure I butchered your name and I apologize, but you say it's perfect time for me. It's 11 p.m. over here. So you must be somewhere in Asia, I'm going to presume. Thank you for being here with me and for listening to what I have to say. I hope it's been helpful. Mark says thank you and looking forward to learning more. Me too. Thank you for being here with me. And there's a lot more to learn. So awesome. Thank you again for being with us. And with that, I will flip on a little music and just say, have a wonderful day. It's Thursday. Got the weekend coming up. Enjoy. And look for more from me on Monday. We'll have more in the Facebook group as well as here on YouTube. And you'll be getting email to tell you a little more about what's in store. So thanks again for being here. I'll see you really soon. Bye.
What's your story? What's your sign? It's like we're twin flames in a different life. Deep connection lights a spark.
All right, I'm out. Have a good day.
It's like you know me in the depths of my heart. We're dreaming.